plus a call to protect the U.S.-Mexico border.
If elected officials will not lead, then it is up to the citizens to lead.
A pledge to build a fence. The Minuteman Civil Defense Corps asked for millions in donations. Where's all that money going? Where's the fence? We're keeping them honest. Well, check out this raw data. It's pretty outrageous. According to a new Government Accountability Office report, thousands of undocumented people passed through official ports of entry last year. A source tells CNN the number may be as high as 21,000. At several border crossings, government investigators found there were no border agents in the inspection booth. Other times, officers never asked for any travel documents. Approximately 400 million people cross U.S. border checkpoints every year. Along the U.S.-Mexico border, there are, of course, self-proclaimed patriots. Minutemen, they call themselves, self-appointed border guards. And no doubt you know about them. We've gone out, we've reported on them many times. But what you might not know is that they have been asking for millions of dollars in donations to keep illegal immigrants from crossing into the U.S. A lot of people have been sending them money. The question is, where is all that money going? We asked CNN's newest investigative correspondent, Abby Boudreau, to dig deep and follow the money. And tonight, she is keeping them honest.
Friends, the solution is so simple.
It was a reaction to the horror of 9/11.
If elected officials will not lead, then it is up to the citizens.
A way for people to really do something to make America safe.
Secure our borders and enforce our laws.
It was as if 9/11 had somehow unleashed a growing frustration.
Here we were, grandparents, and we were willing to go down and do something about the border, and our government wouldn't do.
For many, it's a noble calling. And Chris Simcox, the president of the Minuteman Civil Defense Corps, a worthy leader.
If anyone wanted to attack America,
using the media,
the American people are fed up with this charade.
The greatest threat to our national security is the border with Mexico.
United, they would contribute and raise hundreds of thousands of dollars.
How much of your life have you dedicated to this cause?
110%.
And make sacrifices to build a sturdy barrier to keep illegal border crossers out of the U.S. At least, that's what they thought. Today, the barrier is little more than an invisible fence to nowhere. And there are growing questions about Chris Simcox.
For asking those questions, we were terminated from the organization.
And what's happened to all the Minuteman money?
We needed equipment, and we were not getting equipment.
So to this day, we still don't have an idea of how much Minuteman Civil Defense Corps has raised. We don't have a clue.
Chris Simcox called these allegations, quote, a witch hunt, and refused repeated requests from CNN for an interview. As for the plan for the massive fence, that part of the story is only more curious.
Well, so where is the fence, and what happened to all the money donated to build it? We'll follow the money after this short break. So before the break, we took a hard look at the Minutemen Civil Defense Corps, self-proclaimed guardians of our borders. We've all heard of them. Its leader is asking for millions of dollars in contributions. A lot of money has been raised, and it's all supposedly to build thousands of miles of fence to keep illegals from crossing the border. Now, he won't say how much he's gotten. As a matter of fact, he won't even talk to CNN for this story. Now we take you for a look at the so-called border fence that they built. It seems it's not quite as described. Here again, keeping them honest, CNN's investigative correspondent, Abby Boudreau.
In the spring, a year ago, Chris Simcox, the leader of the Minuteman Civil Defense Corps, was facing growing agitation from members of his group.
What happened to the money? Why don't we have more gear?
And that's why Simcox's own lieutenants were stunned on Memorial Day. It was a groundbreaking on the Arizona border.
But all at once, we're going to build a fence if the government doesn't build it. And we all looked at each other, what?
And not just any fence, something like the barrier Israel erected to keep Palestinians from crossing from the West Bank. Posted on the Minuteman website, it was described as 14 feet high, equipped with security cameras and sensors, topped with razor wire, and flanked by ditches to stop vehicles. 2,000 miles of state-of-the-art fencing, wanting to raise $55 million. One man actually mortgaged his home, donating more than $100,000. Keeping them honest, we went looking for the fence. We did find the fence the federal government is building, but where was that 14-foot-high Minuteman fence?
If you look really, really closely, you can see parts of the Minuteman fence down there, but in order to get a true understanding of the Minuteman fence,
This is the Minuteman fence right here, and it's a 5-strand barbed wire fence.
It wasn't until they actually started the ceremony that it became clear this was going to be a cow fence.
How did he explain? In fact, the rancher who owns the land, John Ladd, is more than happy the Minutemen built him a fence to keep in his cattle and keep out Mexican cows. But while there are some tall poles, there is no Israeli-style barrier.
So this isn't real fencing material? This is just...
No, this is electrical conduit.
So then why bring the poles?
It's a sham.
Show and tell.
Sham.
These former state and national Minutemen leaders say the groundbreaking was a ploy by Simcox to raise even more money. But when they question Simcox about how donations were being spent, they say he fired them. Simcox now says that he never promised to build the high-tech security fence on Ladd's ranch, and he insists the barbed wire fence really does protect the country.
And does this fence stop people from crossing the border?
Not a bit.
This area is great for illegal activity.
Another border rancher, Richard Hodges, agreed to allow Simcox to build nearly a mile of that Israeli-style fence on his land.
What do you think the purpose of this fence is?
Oh, absolutely to stop people. Yeah, absolutely.
But that was 10 months ago. Today, here's what we found on Hodges Ranch. Very little. No razor wire. No trenches. None of the promised fancy facial recognition cameras. In fact, the company Simcox cited in his news release tells CNN it has no deal to provide cameras and hasn't even heard from the Minutemen in 18 months.
Is that what donors thought they were donating their money toward?
No.
So what happened to all the donated money? Well, it's hard to tell. Simcox posted his group's most recent tax filing and an independent audit on the Minutemen website. In the audit, the largest expense listed by far is professional services. No further details given. CNN asked Chris Simcox for responses to all the allegations made by these former insiders. Simcox told us that these allegations and CNN's investigation are, quote, part of a smear campaign. He declined multiple interview requests. Paul Newman, the board supervisor of Cochise County, Arizona, says Simcox's fence was a pipe dream from the beginning. After all, the border is a patchwork of public and private land, and a fence builder could never get permission to cross all of it.
In actuality, for the people who are still giving him money, they should know that that money is not going to building a fence.
Just last month, in an email, Simcox asked for even more donations, this time boasting of this new communications tower. But the tower owner told CNN the email is a lie. The Minutemen aren't using the tower, he says, and he only let the Minutemen put this small antenna on the roof of the shack next door.
It's always fascinating to me, Abby, when they want to go on TV to promote their cause, but then when you actually ask them some tough questions, they suddenly say it's a smear campaign, don't want to go on TV. I understand there were new developments down the border today. What happened?
Well, Anderson, just a few hours ago, I got a phone call from the second rancher you met in the story, Richard Hodges. He told me fence builders are now back on his land and ready to finish up that 9/10 of a mile the Minutemen promised him. Just one more note, Anderson, the federal government will soon be building its fence only yards away from the Minutemen fence. It's just going to be on the other side of the road.
All right, Abby Boudreau, we'll keep following. Thanks very much, Abby. Good to have you on the program. Let's get a quick check of some of the headlines. Erica Hill has them in tonight's